This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD via Zoom, Lani T. Montreal, playwright. How are you today, Lani?
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. We watch we're lucky enough to watch your play, Panther in the Sky. And could you describe for us a little bit about that play and how you started as a playwright?
Y-
How
Jump right in, right?
yes.
um, Panther in the Sky is a story about four women who lost their sons to gun violence in Chicago, and it is also the story of their sons in the afterlife,
Mhm,
who they meet in the afterlife, and so um, it's it's a story about grief, but also about hope. And it's the intention is to bring up the issues that that a lot of communities of color, especially communities who in the areas where gun violence happens a lot, right? To bring up the issues that they're experiencing within those neighborhoods. And then when did I start writing it? I started writing it in 2009, actually.
mhm,
I I'm with the theater group CIRCA PINTIG, and I started with the CIRCA PINTIG when it was just PINTIG at the time, in the early 2000s, late 1990s, and then we do a lot of theater workshops with young people, and some of these young people um, come from at-risk neighborhoods. They call at-risk neighborhoods, and we do a lot of theater workshops with them, just helping them gain some skills in theater, as well as allowing them the opportunity to tell their stories. And um, so then after that, in 2009, I started working for the city colleges of Chicago. And well, actually, I started working for the city colleges in 2006, but then I became a full-time instructor. I teach writing at Malcolm X College.
mhm,
And so that's creative writing, it's composition, it's research. And so students often share a lot of their experiences with gun violence. And so it's something that, as an instructor, as an educator, you kind of hold this in your body,
mhm,
a lot of it. And as a writer, how do I respond to this issue? And so that's when I started writing it. Um, and then it's just we decided, because we do a lot of work with the community, we brought it to different communities and had readings, and so they would often give us feedback, share their own thoughts um, about the issue, and so it just kept growing. The fees kept growing, and then um, finally we were able to stage it because we got a little funding, and then the partnership with the Chicago Dance Theater, with Elizabeth Adler, made it also possible for us to be able to stage it in that space, in that beautiful space. Um, and then having meeting, having all these collaborators, right? Uh, Such as Mignon, Stewart, who's our director for the play, and then Ginger Leopoldo, who's our producer as well. And and yeah, it's just something that you know we always come together to talk about, and to finally stage, right? And we did a call for auditions. And then, of course, when we had finally found the actors who are going to portray these different roles, we continued with the education and with the workshops and just and the discourse. And so it's some of that, some of what the actors shared about their own experiences also went into the play. So it really is that community piece, if I
Mhm.
can call it that.
Yes, it seems that way because you said that there were workshops and then feedback, and then, so in other words, the play evolved over the years.
Yes, yes, it's evolved over time, and I have evolved too, I believe, as a writer. So
Mhm. Was it framed somewhat in the same way with the four mothers and four sons in the beginning?
um oh, are you asking if it's different actors portraying the
Oh
parts?
no, the framing of the story, the way that it's staged.
Oh, it's always been that way from the beginning.
Mhm,
And I think it's because, as a mother, right? Because when I started writing it, my husband and I decided to foster children as well. And so I think that just putting myself into that new role made me more conscious, about all these now you have these added um, worries, right?
mhm. Yes, you understand them more clearly since you're
Yeah.
experiencing. Mhm, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so that's why I said, oh, I really, and also like watching the news and always seeing the mothers just, they're interviewed in the news and talking about their children and who were victims of gun violence. It's just really, it just really affected me. And I felt, I wanna write that story. So,
Mhm.
and so that's what I did.
Yeah, you infused so much grief and so much humor into the situations. You like found both sides of it, the
Thank
irony and
Yeah, I think that it's very, very important. And I believe in the power of theater to really, you know, allow audiences to reflect upon the issue it's like a non-threatening way. Nobody's telling them what to do, but here, let me present these stories to you, and maybe you can participate in that reflection. It's like, are we doing enough for our community about this issue, right? And so
Mhm, mhm,
so that's and that's why I love the medium of the theater, the stage, because it is, for me, it's community building.
mhm. Was the theater your first voice in writing, or did you read you write prose or poetry in the beginning?
Yeah, actually, I started as a journalist in the Philippines.
Oh,
I wrote news, well, mostly feature stories on different issues. I was I was in I was a staff writer, the youngest staff writer for this Sunday magazine in the Philippines, and I
mhm.
wrote I wrote for the magazine for like 5 years before I came here to the
Oh,
U.S.
was that in Manila?
Yes, yes.
Mhm,
And then from there, when I came here, I just wasn't the same. I wasn't drawn to writing about the news here, about the issues here. So, um, I was still writing, but mostly features. We had a magazine here for in Canada. I stayed in Canada for I lived in Canada for a while, and we had a
mhm,
a Filipino Canadian newspaper.
mhm,
So it's still focused on the immigrant experience.
mhm,
And so then when I came here and became part of the theater group, CIRCA, which is the Center for Immigrant Resources and Community Arts, and PINTIG, which is it means heartbeat in the Philippines, and I
mhm,
became part of that. organization. And so that's when, it made me fall in love with theater more.
Mhm.
But yeah, my first play, I wrote it in Canada, actually.
Oh,
And it was because it's also part of the work that we were doing with youth and with immigrant issues. It was at the time there was a lot of, during the 90s, the AIDS crisis and a
mhm,
lot of homophobia going on and stigma. Um, and so there wasn't much, we wanted to raise awareness as well as empathy among
mhm,
community members in the Filipino Canadian community. And so we did this play about, it's called My Grandmother and I.
mhm.
It's such a long-winded story, but but yeah, that was my first play that I wrote. And then when I came here, I wrote more plays for CIRCA PINTIG and centering on the immigrant experience. So
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of issues to write about. Did you mention that when you came to the US or to Canada, you weren't interested in writing the news for them, right? Was there something that the editors would um, assign for the news that was not to your liking? I think. Let me see. You got muted, I think, somehow.
um, I I think I did try writing for the newspaper here, but it's really, I don't know. It's just it's just I guess because I really didn't feel like, I have a grasp of American experience to be
Mm-hmm.
able to write about it,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and so I think that's where I'm coming from with that.
Mhm. Because when I see your play, Panther in the Sky, it seems as if you're writing the experiences, but I feel that you're trying to find some solution, but you're not asking for a solution. But I think that you hope that when people uh feel what these characters, what these people, I'm assuming that these I would say that these are derived from real experiences that people would just take the time to try to work toward a solution.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, it was really inspired by a lot of news reports, the
Mhm,
stories were told to me. Um, but it's not, specific to individuals.
mhm,
Um, and but yeah, I mean, I think that's why I said it is the play is about grief, but also about hope,
mhm,
a hope in like finding solutions. And I think that one of the things that I also wanted to bring up in the play is that how divided we are as, as a community. It's like I feel like, these four mothers grieving in their own separate spaces, you know, when there's so much we can accomplish if we're together, if we're like working together, if,
mhm,
you know, and I think that's also um part of that my intention for that play is that to build hope, to build solidarity
mhm,
with different communities. That's why it's not just black, it's not just Latino, it's not just, but it's a lot of different communities of color.
mhm. I did not catch the beginning, like 15 minutes, but it kind of seemed to me that the youth in your play were able to interact more closely together.
Yes,
But the mothers were always separated,
yes,
each one in their corners.
yes,
Was there a
yes.
reason for that?
I just I think because they're in this imaginary world,
Mhm,
the young people are in this imaginary world. It's kind of like, I think it's my way of projecting my idea of like how it should be, how, we should be interacting with each other in this way. We should be um, questioning each other if we do have questions, because other if you don't ask the questions, you won't get the answers, right? Or you won't know each other unless you open up. And so in this scene with the boys interacting, it's because in this they're in this otherworldly place that they're able to do that. But I'm hoping that
Mm,
more events like that would happen. I'm
mm,
always happy when I see my children, having friends from, different um different cultures and
mm.
different, it's just beautiful.
Demographics, kind of.
Yeah, demographic. It's just beautiful to see.
Mm,
I think that was also that scene was also inspired by what I see with them, with my own children, with my students, where, because a classroom is also a place where we are able to, feel safe about expressing our thoughts and our ideas. And I always talk about that in my classroom. And it's like, okay, this is a safe space. We shouldn't, we should respect, we should try and see where we're coming from, where each of us is coming from before we, attack someone's thoughts and ideas,
mm,
And our goal is to come with some kind of a common ground. And so that's, I think that's what it is. That's where that scene came from, is, from my hope of how it should be, but also what I see in my classroom and what I see with my children. So when they're with their friends and, who are from
Peers. Mm.
cultures. Yeah.
Do you find that there is more space for hope in the youth than in the adults? Because the youth were able to, even though they were almost coming to blows, they were still able to resolve it.
Yeah.
Is there more hope if the youth were a part of trying to come together?
Yeah, I think so. I think that is, and that's why, it's so important to have those kinds of spaces
Mhm,
for youth to be able to interact with other communities. So then they know they're not alone.
mhm,
And and that there are some commonalities, a lot of commonalities
mhm,
among them. Um, so yeah, I really, I think that there's a lot of hope there if, if we have more, if there are more resources for, youth in communities, to have these community spaces, right? Even in schools, to have more integration, right? Because it
mhm.
seems like, it's very segregated. Chicago is very
Yeah,
segregated.
it is,
And a
unfortunately.
lot of the issues that we are experiencing come from that. And so there should be more effort to reach out to other communities. Um, yes, so that's my hope.
When you were teaching the youth theater and workshops, did you see that they were able to overcome some of their cultural differences when they started creating together and listening to each other's work?
Yeah, yeah. I did see that because, like I said, art is just a way that brings people together, um in, in a creative space, right? To create together, to see each other's to hear each other's stories, and to see each other's realities. Um so yeah, I think so. I think that when, because we would go to these different schools, and there would be diversity in the child in the young people that we've worked with. And
Mm.
so that's always, I yes, there, it's very encouraging to see that when they come together, they can create together, and they can see each other's experiences.
Do you ever have the experience of saying that there might have been conflict in the beginning, but as the class progressed along, was there maybe less conflict or more conflict? You know, what is the what happens or does everything happen?
Yeah, I mean, over time, they're able to build
Hmm.
rapport with each other. I think that's as instructors or like even in my classrooms, I think that we need to create opportunities for that to happen. Like when we put them together in groups to
Hmm.
work to give them like a problem to solve or
Hmm.
or to give them discussion activities so they can
Hmm.
talk about it, they can share their thoughts about specific issues. Yeah, I think that's as instructors we should create those spaces within our classrooms. And also, when we do workshops with them in theater arts.
Hmm. Yes. Do you get feedback from your students about how they feel after you know being learning from you and being in the workshop?
Yeah, I mean, maybe unofficially, right?
Yes.
They would say that. And and you also see friendships develop
Uh-huh.
over time.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm no longer doing that, the theater workshops with youth,
Uh-huh.
but in my classrooms, definitely I see that a
Hmm.
lot.
Hmm. Yes. Well, that's like team building, and then
Yeah.
uh, yes. For Panther in the Sky, the logo, well, not the logo, the poster. It seems as if there were like pieces missing out of the people. Yeah, that the little splotches of black that were missing from the uh yeah, the what do you call that again? Profile of the of the character.
Of
And
the young,
yes,
of the
mhm,
child,
yes,
yeah.
yes. What's the significance of that?
Oh, I'm thinking that, well, I didn't really design the poster. I just gave them the script and
Yeah,
they
it's a beautiful poster.
that's really nice. Yeah, it shows Chicago. It shows the image of the the panther as a constellation, and um and then the child with the mother. And I think that it's representing grief. When you lose a child, you lose the person, but you really have the memory still. It stays with you. And so I think that's what the artist wanted to convey with the missing parts of the child.
Mhm.
So
And what does the panther represent?
um I just because like they talk about that in the play about how they're in this other worldly place where they see constellations up close, whereas in Chicago or when there any big city where there's too many lights, you cannot see, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
You cannot see the beautiful sky. I think, the Panther is I created that constellation because it does kind of remind me of the whole Black Panther tradition and how
Uh,
um, in the past they've been known to provide services for the community, and
mhm.
it's been a positive image for the African American community. And I thought, oh, Panther, let's think about that and maybe use that because of the and it actually the title came after. It didn't come first. I just started with stars, I think, or stars, and I wasn't
Oh.
really. But then I later on I thought of the panther, and I also did this reading where I read the uh, the the speech of Tecumseh, who's a chief, a Native American chief,
Mhm.
and he was known to be a panther in the sky
Mm.
because of his uh, uh, leadership, and they see him as this powerful creature. So that's also where it came from. So it's a lot of different things, but it really came after I've already written the play. And I thought it would be a nice reference for that.
Yes. Which part of the play was most difficult to write?
Oh, yeah, well, it took me longer to write the parts of the boys, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like the mothers came more, it, it, it's, I feel, more organically, whereas the boys, it took time to get to know the characters of the boys. The mothers were talking about them, but in I was thinking of the boys as being everybody's children. You know, this is like not just, every time a child is killed because of gun violence, that's our child.
Mm-hmm.
That's not, and so that was the original concept for that. And it still was to the end, it was still, these are all our children. So when you see the women talking about their children and all the boys responding at the same time, it's because every one of those boys could have been their child or could be our children, right? Um, and so I think later on they just started talking to me more. I always say that
Mm-hmm.
they just started manifesting more in, in my writing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it has to do with, like I said, being an instructor and um, meeting all these young people, and these young people having an impact on me, and also my own children growing up and being more attuned to their lingo, to the way they interact with each other, with their friends.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started hearing them more. I think that's what it was. And then they they became more concrete as characters. So I think that's why I said, it's over time this piece developed, and so even I was growing as these characters were also growing, as the story was growing.
So, in other words, in time, the characters, the boys, they took a life of their own, and then it was easier to write when they became their like own person.
Yes, definitely. That's what it is. That's what it is. I they introduced themselves to me more intimately, and I think that's how plays work, at least for me. It's like the characters start talking to you. They start telling you what they want.
Mhm. Some of your detail is very minute, and for instance, one of the boys said that when he was killed, he didn't feel anything. So was that from your research, or was that from uh, just inspiration about what it might be? How did you come to that detail?
Yeah, I have been reading a lot, and also I watch a lot of TV shows too.
Uh-huh.
A lot of these cop shows, right? Or where, like, characters just talk about how, what is it like? And I think I might have met somebody who talked to me about what it's like to be shot, and to
Mhm,
survive that, and it's like it's just it stings, and you don't even know it's there until like it starts bleeding, or and so yeah, a lot of it is from stories told to me, and also from reading. um of course, I don't know what the dead might feel, but that one is more, that's just how I imagined it to be, how I imagined it to be. So
mhm. Yes. When you have the final scene with the Amazing Grace and the funeral, was that the how long did it take for you to decide that that would be the concluding scene?
we're talking about the songs when they were
Yeah.
singing.
Yes.
Yeah. That's actually not Amazing Grace. It's
It
more
was. Sorry about that.
that's, again, original song. That one, actually, I collaborated a lot with my director to talk about how we were going to conclude
Ah,
the, that last scene.
mm,
Um, because in my original script, the mothers were with their sons, but because I just remembered when my friend passed away when we were young, we were in our 20s, and her parents, or her mother, dressed her like they give them time with the body to dress them up and
mm,
clean them up, and it just was very visual to me. That was very visceral in a sense, because it's like I could imagine what that was like for the mother. And so
mhm,
but it was kind of hard to, I guess, portray. We'll have naked boys and they're dressing up. And
mm, yeah.
so like and so then we have that, and also, because they had this recurring line where they ask if the audience could actually see them, or if the people could see them,
Mhm,
just like the constellations in the sky where you don't see them because it's too bright. There's just too many distractions.
mhm,
When you look closely, you can see them. And so that's why, oh my God, it's like, what is it? Spoiler alert. So that's how we decided to end it. And, like I said, it was a collaborative effort.
mhm, yes. Yes.
Yes.
It's it's very very painful. Did you find it was kind of painful to write at
Yeah,
all?
I still, when I watch it, it still brings me to tears, and just
Mhm, mhm,
just talking about it, because I've written it a long time ago, and I'm just happy that it's out now,
mhm,
and that I could share it with people. But yeah, it is very emotional. It's just, to see it, um, if it's just because it's just how it is when you watch the news, and you feel the pain of the people around them when they lose
mhm.
and so yeah, it still hurts, but that's why I needed to put some humor in it because
Yes, very good humor too.
because
When um, have you ever had the feedback from parents who have lost a child and then talk with you after watching the play?
actually, yeah, we had, because one of our community partners is Israel's Gifts of Hope, and he, Israel, Aragon. He was 21. He was shot and killed in Albany Park, and so her family created that foundation to be able to provide support for victims of gun violence, and they were the ones who created the ofrenda, which is the offering. When you come into the theater, you see that there's an ofrenda there with the photographs of victims of gun violence. She was there for the first few weeks. The mother, Mrs. Aragon, was there, the mother of Israel, and yeah, she did tell me that, yeah, it was very emotional. She talked about what it was like, and she was like really upset because when her son was killed, she just, because it was just, I guess it wasn't too far from their house, and when she came out, she just saw him lying there, and she said he didn't even have a blanket. They couldn't, do it. And it was just, when she told that story, and she said that was how I felt, and nobody could understand me. That's what she said. That's, she said, when she talked about the mothers in the show, she said that's how I was feeling, and nobody understood me. Nobody felt the same,
Mhm,
but to see your son in that condition, or to find out that your son was shot, that's how it felt like. So, but
mhm,
yeah, that she did tell me that, and it was very humbling, also very painful to to hear.
Definite, definitely.
Yeah.
What do the youth tell you? Do they tell you that how is the representation of them? Do they have feedback for you about how you represent them in your play?
Yeah, because I'm always you know, very open to my the actors who were portraying the
Mm-hmm.
role.
Mm-hmm.
And they would they they're they say what theirs on their what's on their mind about
It's
that.
good.
The
Mm-hmm.
youth, the audience who have come. One of the one moving um one moving account was from a young man. He watched it with his mother. They're African American, and he was just he was just sitting there after the play was over. He was just sitting there, and he was like, it's like, no, I never want to put my mom through that.
Mm-hmm.
It was very moving when he said that. And
Mm-hmm.
because I think because in the play they were able to reflect upon their mothers,
Mm-hmm.
after they've already been killed. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just don't think about what our mothers are going through, or and so that was very moving to hear from him. That it's like, I don't ever want to make my mother feel that way. That's what he was saying.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think it's just people respond to the play in different ways. And I'm just glad, because then it really makes them think about, like in the play, the mothers didn't know who to blame, right? Who do you blame when your
Mhm.
son is killed in the streets like that, right? By gun violence. And yeah, and there's much more I think that can be done about it on a, legislative level, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But it's, we need more voices to keep pushing the
Mhm.
government to do something about it. So that's also one of the hope in that of
Yes.
of putting that show out, is just to make people more aware and
Mhm.
understand that this is not something you can blame on the parents. Like, oh, parenting, where are
Mhm.
the parents? They're not there. Or on video games, right? It's just all
Mhm.
these things that we blame for this.
Excuses, excuses.
Yes, yes. There's much more that can be done on a
Have
legis.
you ever invited the legislators to view the play?
Well, we had our alderman come and see it,
Mm.
which was really nice. But I don't think anybody else has come to see it who can, hopefully maybe we're planning on touring the play after it ends the run, because it's the last weekend this weekend. And so we're hoping to take it out to different communities, to different, maybe even travel outside of Chicago or outside of Illinois.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll bring it to Springfield.
Have you ever thought about publishing it and having it performed all over the country?
Yeah, that's a great idea too. I think that, that's one of the things that we can do. Yeah. So then other communities can actually, or,
Because
they can
these are
finish.
it's a beautiful play. Plus, it brings up all these issues framed very delicately, very judiciously, and so that people could come together to discuss and hopefully find some solution. At least it might even um, break down some of the walls too.
Yeah, that's the hope, right? We need to like really correct. Oh, yeah, I don't know. We need to really advocate for more restrictions for a gun more gun legislation needs to happen. Can't be, yeah, it's just It's an epidemic, right?
Well, one of your students, they write about what they care about. You try to encourage them that. Do you find that their topics are more related to gun violence now than before?
Oh, no, it's always been. I would usually have a few students writing about gun violence,
Mm-hmm.
and stricter gun laws.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's still an issue that they feel very strongly about. So
Yeah,
that's
because
yeah.
yeah, the statistics are very grim. Everybody is has been affected or knows somebody that has been affected by gun violence. Mm.
Yes. Maybe we can have it like shown in yeah, in Washington D.C.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Okay, awesome.
yes. That would be great. And, are you planning to maybe have it filmed even?
Yeah, I think that might be, something that we can also um explore, definitely.
Mm. It's such a moving play. I really enjoyed it.
Thank
Do you have uh, is did you say that did you write any you wrote one other play before, right?
Yeah, well, I've like I said, I've written a number of plays
A
on,
number.
yeah, on different immigrant experiences.
Yes.
I am actually working on a solo show right now.
Mm.
Um, and that one is more about um my mother actually, and growing up, growing up in the shadow of an icon because she was a famous actor. She was a famous she played a famous character in
Mm.
the Philippines.
Mm.
And so and that one is, it brings up a lot of questions of, you know, empowerment, women empowerment, and questions about patriarchy and how that's defined a lot of how women, mother-daughter relationships have been over time. And so
Mm. Mm.
it is going to be in June. It's on June 22 to June 23 at Links Hall. This is where I am right now because I'm doing my residency with Links Hall,
Uh,
and that's the theater on Western, and I believe it's Belmont, Western and Belmont.
mm.
So, so yes, so it's going to be June 22 to 23. It's called Anak ni Tapia, which in Tagalog it means child of Tapia. Tapia is the famous character that she played
Mm.
on TV for like more than 10 years. It's like
Mm.
15 years. And
Mm.
so, leaving mother, that was and so it kind of tells the story of my journey from the Philippines to the United States to
Mhm.
North America.
Yeah.
So that's that's different from, very different from Panther in the Sky, but in a way, it's also kind of similar in a sense that it's both talking about mothers. It's both about mothers.
Yes. Well, mothers are integral to who we are. So
Yes,
yes.
definitely. Oh my gosh, yeah, you said it. So
Well, please send us all your information so that we could include it in the description for the video of this interview. But now, if just give us a little lowdown about what's coming up and how people might be able to contact you if they have some more questions.
yes, sounds good. Please come to the last two shows of Panther in the Sky. It's happening at the Chicago Dance Theater space, the Ebenezer Church, 1650 West Foster. It's a play that's co-produced by Chicago Dance Theater and CIRCA PINTIG. And it's May 17 to May 18 at 8 p.m. And you can get tickets from the website of Chicago Dance Theater, also from Humanitics. It's yes, Humanitics. So please check it out. And we've also gotten some great reviews, so you can also check out those reviews, and come see the show. And then June 22 to June 23, I'm also doing a solo show called Anak ni Tapia, Leaving Mother. And that one is going to be at Links Hall. And it's 7:30. And you can just get tickets from Links Hall website as well.
Mhm. Yes, yeah, I really, really enjoyed myself that day to, to watch it. And it's very inspiring and it's a treasure, I think, for
Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you. Well, and any new projects coming up as well?
That's for now. I'm working on also.
Very busy.
That's the one that's kind of scary, but also exciting.
Yes. Well, well, Lani T. Montreal, thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And good luck to you, and we'll talk again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.